So
Ooh,
Mr.
that's
Ms. Martinez,
here.
Mr. Almidias,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Jones. I believe he's connecting now. Move Mr. Ryan. Looks like he's absent. Mr. Bongiorni.
Here.
And let me just give Clarence just 1 second. It looks like he's connected to the meeting now. Oh, there he is. Mr. Jones?
Sorry, Emily. How you doing?
Good. Just calling you for you're here, so we do have a quorum.
Okay, item 1 is the petition for determination of applicability. Is there someone here from Eversource?
Well, I believe Melissa's here from Ty and Bond, so I'll let her. This is for the request for determination for replacement of high pressure fluid underground transmission line located within the Connecticut River. And again, I'll defer to Melissa, but I believe this is a separate.
It is. Thank you. And for the record, Melissa Cody from Ty and Bond on behalf of Eversource. And if I may share my screen with the commission.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay. Oops. Can you see this screen with the figure?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so there's a reason this sounds very familiar. Eversource has and is in the process of designing the replacement of another underground transmission main. This one also spans the Connecticut River. This is line 1433. It originates at the West Springfield substation, which is just north of Bondi Island landfill. And the existing alignment is beneath the Connecticut River and comes up in Union Street and was constructed at a time where this part of Springfield along the river had a very different and industrial character. This alignment, while keeping the line 1433 in service to replace this high pressure fluid filled cable with a cross-linked polyethylene cable, there is such a high utility density in Union Street that we are evaluating alternative alignments, and similar to the lines 1544 and 1755 that the commission reviewed for a similar scope about a month or so ago. This one is facing some challenges, and we are in the process of designing the horizontal directional drill so that we can avoid work in open or flowing water of the Connecticut River. And there are 2 alignments being evaluated. The northern one roughly begins at the substation and comes across diagonally toward the Basketball Hall of Fame parcel, which is one of the logistical possibilities. The other would actually come down from M Street and come south toward West Broad. In order to design the horizontal directional drill, the engineers need to understand the stratigraphy beneath the river. And so there are several borings proposed within the Connecticut River. Similar to the other project, these would be advanced from a drill rig on a barge that would be floated and spudded into the river bed to anchor it in place for each boring location. There are also within the 100-foot, just outside the 100-foot buffer zone, there are a couple terrestrial ones, understanding that Springfield has a 25-foot riverfront area. These would not fall within the 25-foot riverfront area, and they would be in paved, previously developed areas as well. But the intent would be to, within the next year, if circumstances within the river allow, to launch the barge from the boat ramp by the North Bridge and float down and anchor in place and advance these proposed locations in the river. We are also this week discussing this particular line with West Springfield and Agawam. So it is the exact same operating procedure as the other project, but to reiterate, the borings will be fully cased, and that will serve to contain turbidity during the actual drilling. And then minus small volume of material for samples, the materials would be returned to the auger hole, and within the casing, the augers will be extracted, and then the casing will be removed.
So that's why it's exactly the same procedure. We're looking at different locations.
Correct. So this is downriver from lines 1544 and 1755. Boy, I am not going to do that to you. I'm not going to do that to myself either. So I will zoom in here a little bit. So the red line here is the existing line 1433 alignment. And as you can see, it continues through Springfield and goes out to Breckwood substation off Wilbraham Road. The yellow and the purple are two potential alignments that the borings are along in the river. The other project is the line 1544, 1755. And that is roughly in this vicinity, north of the railroad bridge.
Okay. With the first one, I believe you sent us a letter saying that you would give us a report during the period of active work, and that somebody was going to be on site, right?
Yes.
And you're willing to send us the same correspondence for this filing?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get whatever reports there are on the
Sediments.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there questions from the committee?
Same as last time, so I guess it should move along the same way.
Slowly, yes.
And I have a copy of those conditions that they approved in West Springfield that I can add to the approval here as well.
Okay. So the only thing we can do this evening is close the public hearing. And you can anticipate that we'll do the same thing as we did before. We'd give you a -3 as long as you submit the items that you send in the attachment.
Mm-hmm. Understood.
Okay. So are there any other commissioners with questions? So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Before you take the vote, Phil, would just tell the public that if they do want to submit comments, they can submit them by email. And whose email have we been using, Phil?
Well, they can send them to my email. It's pdromey, DROMEY @springfieldcityhall.com.
Or they could leave on our phone line, which 787.
6020 is the main line. They can.
Okay. All right. With that said, would you like to call the roll, Phil?
Yeah. So voting to close the public hearing, Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Alminius,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan is absent. Mr.
No,
Bonjour.
no, he's there now.
I'm gonna abstain because I just joined you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Didn't see you. And Mr. Bonjour.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. Very good. Thank you for your presentation. The second item is a request for determination of applicability for an addition to existing building and site improvements, expanded parking at a property known as 1597 Allen Street.
Thank you very much.
Presbyterian Church.
How's everybody today? Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. My name is John Goddard. I work at JG Site Services, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, the Christ Presbyterian Church. Let me see if I can crank up a couple screens to share. Why don't we start by getting oriented to the site, and then we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of the RDA. Okay, we should be able to see a street view of the site at the moment. This is the Christ Presbyterian Church at 1597 Allen Street. We are facing westerly at this time, so as you're coming up to the site, typically you see an existing parking lot over at this location, the church, and then lawn space further to the west over in this area. Let's see if it'll let me flip over to GIS. We're lucky. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So here we are. We're looking at the City of Springfield GIS website. We've got our highlighted parcel here. Woodlands to our east, woodland to our west, the residential communities, and the professional development off to the northeast. I do have the city's wetlands layer turned on so we can see that they show at least some GIS signatures both to the east and west of the site. You can see that we have a developed portion of the property as well as woodlands east, west, and to the rear. Let's take a moment and we'll dive into the existing conditions plan. Okay. Some of the highlights I want to share with you from the existing conditions survey include an on-site isolated vegetated wetland. And that's the 100-foot buffer and captures some of the green space to the rear of the existing church and even grabs a portion of that existing structure. So that's a local jurisdiction only, IPW. On our design plans, the off-site wetland didn't appear to be within jurisdictional vicinity. I show the 100-foot buffer from that GIS signature. It is down a tremendous and precipitous slope, but for reference purposes, we'll see just a shadow cast over the property line from that, and just to be conservative when we're looking at that. So let's talk a little more about the project at hand. I'll flip over to a sheet that tells us a little more about the program. Okay. The plan set's been distributed, and what you see before you here today shows, I'm going to call it the full build out scenario, where the church will be expanding both along the front of the building, the east and the west portion of the property, excuse me, of the building. In addition, they're going to create expanded parking areas. And in doing all this, we bring things up to stormwater compliance under the local regulations and Mass DEP. And of course, we add planted islands for trees and site planting and illumination for this particular project. Now, while I show this global development program, what I do want to point out is a phase line that's been developed. So along the westerly side, it's this heavy gray dashed line right there. And on the southerly line, that heavy gray dashed line in that location. The reason why that's been developed is because the church would like to be able to understanding that we're doing work under notice of intent, as well as understanding that the rear parking area is not likely to be developed for a number of years. I'd like to start with the work that's closest to Allen Street on both sides of the building. So let's talk about your jurisdiction and the work that's to take place inside of that. If I flip down. So you're now looking at our little update. Here we go. Our utility sheet. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and reorient us to that buffer zone. Let me move a menu bar out of my way. There we go. That's much better. Okay, so we have the signature of that isolated vegetated wetland, the 50-foot and the 100-foot buffer. Again, grabbing corner of the building. There's a small amount of work that we need to do within conservation jurisdiction under this phase 1. And that relates to bringing new utilities to the building. There are existing utilities within this portion of the building that need to be upgraded. And a small portion of that just goes into the outer portion of the 100-foot buffer. Justification for that work is that this is within existing altered land. This is lawn area. This is roughly the location of the existing parking lot. So we need to go a little bit into that lawn area within buffer zone and connect those new utilities to the building. So the big picture to share with you is that this portion of work would fall under a request for determination. At least that's the request before you. And then as the project progresses along, the applicants will be returning with a notice of intent for the work that's within jurisdiction. And that'll include the remaining walkways, the rear parking, and a portion of the stormwater basin at the rear of the building. And so for the present time, we are proceeding through, if you will, the local departments and the Conservation Commission to receive incremental approvals for the proposed work. I'll stop sharing for a moment, but welcome any thoughts or questions you may have.
Commissioners have questions? I mean, the work is showing for this, just the utility work. Obviously, I don't see that we're going to have a lot of concern with. Your determination, I mean, your notice is going to be involved in the second part of it because it comes very close to that regulated land. But this one seems fairly straightforward.
That's correct.
Do other commissioners have questions?
No, because it stated the same thing. It's just that little piece where you're trying to bring electricity in, right? That's it. That's the only piece this is about, right? Am I correct? Because I had a hard time understanding you because you were cutting in and out. But
I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. But from what I understand, it's just that little piece that you're presenting tonight.
That's correct. There's some underground utilities, including water, telecommunications, and electrical that'll be reconstructed in that vicinity in the existing lawn area.
Okay.
Any other commissioners have questions?
May I?
Yep. Who is that? Who's that? I can't see the screen.
It's Frank Ryan.
Okay, Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, for John. I'd like to hear a lot more about this utility area, the lawn. And I know we'll be taking this up again, but you're speaking in the east and the south of walkways and parking. So let's take them one at a time. What are you asking of us tonight in that lawn area with utilities?
Sure. Is it, shall I bring up the plan again so we can see specifically? Give me just one moment. Okay, let me zoom in a little more so I think you can see a little better on your screens. The request for tonight, if I can make this behave and zoom in a little bit more. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, is not only for the isolated vegetated wetland line, but also for this minimal or marginal, I should say, amount of work that's within your jurisdiction. So there's an existing narrow concrete walkway that'll need to be removed in that location. We have a new water line coming to the building. We have a fire suppression water line coming to the building. And on both of those, and to a certain degree, let's see, the underground electric just kisses the 100-foot buffer. That would, those three utilities fall within your jurisdiction. So the removal of some existing surface improvements and then the installation of those utilities are being requested under this RDA.
Okay, following up on Juanita's question, did I hear you say you're removing the walkway and that this is just simply underground?
That is correct.
You are breaking up.
I'm sorry, I apologize, my connection. That is correct. These are underground utilities.
Okay. You mentioned some parking back here. Can you enlarge this? And let's talk about the amount of parking you'll be requesting in the future. That'll help us with this south and east section that we're concerned about.
Sure thing. I'm going to go back one sheet only because it shades out the parking. And we'll look at that as it relates to the IVW. So we'll give it a second for it to pan over. Waiting for one computer to catch up to the next one. Okay. At the rear of the building, you may recall there was some lawn area and there's wooded area. This right here is the existing wood line to the north, and this is the wood line to the east.
Right.
So and if you will, this is my silt fence signature, those squares along the lines. So the intention in the back, as it relates to the 50-foot buffer, is to respect as much of that as possible, except for where lawn area already goes in to the buffer zone. So we have a small amount of grading that'd be associated with that. Other work within your jurisdiction would include the clearing and grading associated with this basin.
Okay.
So there's a stormwater basin, and I'll zoom out a little bit so we get a little better context.
With your cursor, would you show us where the utility lines are going in? Yeah. Okay. I've lost east and west here and north and south.
North would be right.
Frank, can you see his cursor? Move your cursor so Frank can see it.
Yeah, got it.
There you go.
Okay. Now, are you in the southeast corner there?
We are in the northeast or so section of it.
Something's not making sense.
Let me zoom out and show you the whole screen.
Common streets to the left of the plan, Frank. If that you're basically the top side is west of this. Yeah.
The church building is to our right near the buffer zones, the eastern buffer zones.
The church building has the heavy black line surrounding it.
Okay.
The power line is, if you want to orient to the screen, it's just below the little divot that comes out for the side of the building there. That's where the power lines are going.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Now, how close is that parking, the proposed parking here?
Under the future notice of intent, we're looking at roughly 50 feet to the IVW.
Could you describe the existing parking and the future parking?
Sure.
Especially here on the south and east. No.
Okay, so the existing parking area is over in this vicinity. It does extend along the side of the existing church. This little signature right there, if you're familiar with the site, there's a donation receptacle at the property. I like it relocated. So the existing parking is outside of conservation jurisdiction, but that
Just,
will repaved and the geometry corrected to work better with zoning constraints.
okay,
The parking we're looking at towards the top of your screen right there, that's all under a future notice of intent.
okay. In the number of pages we were sent, there were pink flags to the east or a minimal wetland. Where is that?
That's what I am showing right along this area. These 6 flags right here.
Okay, thank you.
When you walk into the property, I suppose behind the donation receptacle, you can see the wooded area. What we see with our eyes for the lawn and the building pad was clearly prepared for construction at some point in time. In this area, we'll call it historically altered, is what we see. So we can see signs of mechanical movement of soil over time that has now led to the opportunity for this isolated vegetated wetland to become established.
Okay.
Any more questions, Frank?
No, help me out one more time. As we are viewing this now, is Allen Street at the top of the screen or to the left of the screen?
Over to the left side of the screen, straight out from the church.
Okay. Thank you. Now I've got it. Thanks. Yeah.
Let me empathize. I've been struggling with it for quite some time. So thank you.
Are you planning that much more additional parking?
Eventually, yes.
That's not part of this
No,
petition. Yeah.
I agree, Juanita. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Okay. So just to recap before we entertain any motions, the only thing that's before us tonight is the border of the isolated land subject to flooding, which was established a while ago in another filing, and the little bit of work in the grass area for connecting utilities. Those are the only 2 items that are before us tonight.
Thank you.
So the motion that we'd be looking for would be a positive determination because we are setting the wetland border, and there's a number on there to check, Phil, for saying that it is agreeing to the wetland border as presented.
Okay. Do you want it, is this going to be continued, or do you want to just close the hearing and vote on it to the next
Well, there's
meeting?
so little work.
Okay.
I think we can close the hearing unless somebody disagrees. If nobody disagrees, then a motion to close the public hearing. Actually, we can't issue at the same, so we'll have to issue the determination at the next meeting.
Okay.
And because once again, we'll allow the public a chance to, if they want to send in comments, they can leave comments on the phone at 787-6020 or at Phil's email, which is Dromey P.
P Dromey, DROMEY at SpringfieldCityHall.com.
Sorry about that. I always get school and city confused. One is the letter and then the name. The other one's the name and then the letter. So, okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Frank. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Juanita. Phil, go ahead and call the roll.
So voting to close the public hearing, Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Alminius,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
and Mr. Bongiorni.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item that before us would be under 4, which is a request to extend an order of conditions for 12 months. since that's what's before us, they could have requested up to 36, but they have so far only requested 12. So I can't remember ever denying a request to extend an order unless someone has some significant reason why they think we shouldn't.
Andrea is here, so I don't know if you want her to speak or not, or from GZA.
Sure. Hi, this is Adrian from GZA, just representing the extension request. So as you said, we're requesting 12 months because in the next 12, this is for Water Shops Pond. In the next 12 months, our 401 water quality certificate and our Army Corps approval will both expire. So we don't need to extend our order of conditions.
Beyond that. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you. Then I would entertain a motion to extend the order of conditions for file number 7592.
I'll make a motion to extend the order of conditions for Water Shops Pond.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Was that Clarence?
That was Fred.
Oh, Fred. Sorry.
So voting to extend the order of condition, Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Alminius,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
and Mr. Bonjordi.
Yes.
Thank you. More than a significant number. It passes. We have one other item on our agenda, which is a tree. Phil, do you want to give the committee an update on that?
Yeah, so I've been receiving a number of requests from this particular property owner regarding a couple of trees. Her property on Pebble Mill Road abuts a conservation land, and she's been having issues with a couple of trees. One actually has fallen, and another one is, I guess, leaning on her fence. I was able to get, obviously I'm not a tree expert, so I was able to get Alex Sherman, the city forester, to go out and take a look at them. He's also helping me by getting his company that works for the park department, which I believe is Ashland, to go out and get a quote for the removal of the one that's down, that's on our property, and the one that's leaning. It did come to $3,640. That's a 3-person aerial lift at $364 an hour. They approximate approximately 10 hours to do that. As I noted, I did verify with our financial folks the amount of money in the account that we use for this. I did have a chance to talk with Kevin as well. Kevin indicated that you guys at one point had given him permission to kind of do tree work that was $2,000 or under. This obviously is over it. So currently right now in our wetlands, under the local wetlands fund, we had a big chunk just last year with the mall. So that's up to just over $22,000. So I was hoping to be able to get the okay from the commission to take care of this. Again, this owner has been kind of asking for this for a number of months. So I was hoping to get the approval to get Alex. Once I get your approval, I would contact Alex to get the crew out and take care of it. So
I think this is one of those cases that if we don't do it and the tree falls on the fence, it'll cost the city way more.
Yeah,
And things have gone up. The only question is, I wonder if in that estimate they're talking about removing the removal of the trees when the tree could actually just stay on the conservation property.
I think it is removal, but I can double check that.
Yeah, because that could probably draw it down. And right, Chris, we don't have to. It's better to
We do not
leave it
need to remove
now.
the stuff off the land. It's actually habitat. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So if there is money for removal, Phil, I would encourage that, even though I think we'll approve to you up to the amount you requested, see if you can get them to reduce it by not having to remove.
Okay.
Yeah, because the removal of the trees are expensive. So that's probably an expensive line. And if that can be taken off, then the price will go down.
I will double check with Alex and get that.
Okay. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, then a motion to approve up to the amount that has been requested, with the understanding that Phil will try to talk with them about reducing any cost for removing and just actually leaving the wood on the conservation land. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the up to the amount needed for the tree, minus any tree removal fees that we can offer.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Second.
Thank you.
Oh,
Phil, go ahead and call the
Good call.
roll.
So voting to approve, Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes,
Mr. Alminius,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
and Mr. Bongiorno.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. I think that does it, unless anybody else has any issues.
no,
Having gone through the agenda, a motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
Just take a
Oh.
voice on that, all in favor?
Clarence seconded.
All in favor?
Okay. Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Aye.
aye,
Thank you,
aye.
guys. I appreciate it.
Aye.
That's good.
All right.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
See you later.
Have a good night,
Bye.
everybody.
See ya.
You too.
Yeah,
Good
you
night,
too.
everybody.
Good night.